Good morning, Sukie Baxter here. I just finished my morning meditation and something came through for me that I wanted to share. And that is this idea of turning to experts for answers. So I have many roles in my business and in my life. I have many things that I provide to the world. I am a body worker, I'm a teacher, some would call me a healer, lots of different areas in which I provide help, support, services to people in my life and in my business. And one of those roles that I have is that I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business and I have for over 15 years now. And in the time that I've owned my business, I've worked with a lot of coaches and consultants to help me to figure out what it is that I'm providing and what it is that I'm doing in the world. Because when you work by yourself, that can be a little bit confusing. It's hard to see, it's hard to get context for what you're doing when you're inside of it. So I've worked with lots of coaches and consultants, as many people have. And one thing that has consistently frustrated me or been a stumbling block for me is this idea that many coaches will tell me, or I hear them tell lots of people, to find a method, or they ask me, what is the thing that you think everybody needs to know or do? And this has always been super frustrating because I don't feel like there is one thing that everybody should do. I don't think that I have the right answer for you. And it's kind of funny because even inside of my Nerve Method, which is a 10-week course, it's almost an unmethod. It's almost a guidance to unwind all of the shoulds and all of the stories and all of the ideas that have been put on us about how we should show up physically, mentally, emotionally in all areas of our lives. And I think that we've seen a rise in small business in the last, 10 years. I've really seen it as an entrepreneur. And we've seen a rise in an expert economy where people are turning to coaches and consultants for advice. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's bad to have people who are guides and mentors in your life. I work with lots of people. I work with a horse trainer, for example, with my horses, who helps me to figure out what I'm doing and give me pointers. But it's not that I am asking her to tell me what to do so much as that there's this two-way dialogue where we are coming together and I'm saying, this is what I'm experiencing. This is my analysis or where I'm at with it. And do you have anything to contribute? So it's additive. And I have a lot of people, clients over the years who have come in and they'll stand and we'll be doing an analysis of what's going on in their posture and their movement and their tension to unravel their pain and their posture issues. And a lot of times I'll ask them, what is it that you're experiencing in your body? And they don't know. Because culturally, we have been trained to disregard our own experience. We have been conditioned to ignore the signals from inside of ourselves and instead to seek validation from external sources. And these people often will say, well, you're the expert, what do you see? And yes, I see lots of things. I always do. I can see many, many things in lots of posture and movement patterns, but I don't know what's relevant because I don't know what has your attention right now. And I can work with something that doesn't have your attention, but that's not really beneficial to either one of us because if you're not perceiving it, then, it doesn't matter if it shifts or not. And I think that culturally, I've talked about this many times, but culturally we've really been trained not to notice ourselves and not to follow urges from inside of our bodies. And I think that I'm all for tech. I think tech is amazing, and I don't necessarily think social media is evil. I have met many really cool people on social media. I have met clients and customers that are amazing people. I've met friends who are actually in real life friends. And being part of the equestrian community, we're really spread out and very rural. And I've met people all over the world via the internet and social media. So I don't think tech is bad. But I do think that the uprising of wearables that provide us a lot of biometrics, so they provide heart rate data, they provide how many steps you took, and there's even there's wearables that will tell you like if you're recovered from your workout, if you should be recovered, or like when you should go hard. And there is some tech that also you put it on and like it buzzes when your spine gets to a certain angle. It's like a posture corrector. I'm not about that, and I can talk more about that in another video, but I think that these tech devices are actually training us not to, even further, not to notice our internal experience. And they are really creating the potential for an expert economy. And I see a lot of blueprints and templates and checklists and like, I'm going to give you the exact steps for something. And I used to think that that was really helpful because it was like, oh, thank goodness, someone's giving me the answer for, you can get these for any area of your life. It can be for, strength training, for food, for business building, for, almost anything that exists in the world. Probably squirrel grooming or something like that. You can probably get a checklist or a template for that. That can be helpful, but ultimately, if you are following a blueprint, you are trying to shoehorn yourself into someone else's life, into what worked for someone else. And I think that there can be a lot of value in someone else's experience, in drawing from their experience. Many years ago, I underwent a couple of years of training with a Lakota shamanic practitioner. And one of the many things that we covered in that training was using I language. And I think this is the shift that I would like to see happen in the expert field. It's not that I want experts to go away. It's not that I want us all to stop consulting with people, because that's very beneficial to have sounding boards and to have somebody to reflect things back at us. But I think that it's more valuable when someone shares their experience as almost like a buffet, almost like I'm just going to present this to you and you can take as much or as little as you want. You can take what resonates and what works, and you can test it out in your own life, but I'm not going to tell you what you should do. And so this is a commitment that, as I mentioned, this came up to me in my morning meditation, that I really want to strive to use more I language in my own business and in my own messaging and in my own videos and such. Because I think that the way that I live my life is the way that works for me. And I think that this might be valuable for somebody, but it's certainly not applicable to every single person, because everyone is different, and what your heart wants is not going to be necessarily exactly what my heart wants. And so, the question that I hear the most, or the version of a question that I hear the most in my practice and in my business and in my online courses is, what should I do? And it's different variations of that. It's, how many times should I do this? How long should I do this? What's the right exercise to do? And I think advice and structure, or sharing options, is really important, because if you don't have any idea, if you don't have any map, then you're just kind of, lost, at sea, just kind of stranded in the water, dead in the water, I guess they say. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, so I do want to continue to share those things, but I really want to open up for people to take these on and try them on, almost like trying on a wardrobe. And you can put them on and you can see what fits and see what feels right. And I encourage people to follow that, to follow what connects for you. Some of my favorite mentors have said some variation of, at some point you have to let go of me. And that's a big principle of the body work that I do too. It's not meant to be a forever thing, although some people use it for a long period of time because everyone's needs are different. I don't necessarily think everyone has the same trajectory with it. But the goal is not to create dependency. The goal is not to create this dynamic where you need to come to me in order to be fixed or healed or corrected or whatever. But that I am a guide and a support in your life, or whoever it is that you're working with, Ideally, they are a guide and a support and not a crutch. And ultimately, to become more embodied, which is my goal for everyone who comes to me, is for them to become as embodied as they desire. No one can do that for you. No one can bring you more into yourself but you. They can inspire you through their own actions and through their own way of living, ideas, insights, all of that. And they can spark creativity in you, and they can give you permission simply by living more embodied themselves to connect more with your heart and your desires, and to really sit with the tension in your body and in your mind and see where that tension's coming from, or if it's time to let it go. And it might not be. It actually might not be. And I think that's another should that we absorb, is that we shouldn't have tension, which we need some. If you didn't have any tension, you'd just be a puddle of bones and soupy muscles on the ground, right? Like, tension is not necessarily bad, and you need some level of it. And so it's not about letting go of everything. It's about letting go of the pieces that aren't working for you. And what's not working for you might be different than what's not working for me or for another person. And like I mentioned, it's always been a real struggle for me, because every session across 15 years of doing body work, every client and every session is a little bit different, because every person is different. And so when someone comes in, we might be looking at their deadlift form in one session, and in another session, we are talking about a deep emotional childhood memory. And all of these are important, and it's whatever the next piece is for that person. And I can't tell you what that next piece is. That's what arises through the context, through when you start to relate to yourself, things come up, and then whatever comes up is what needs to be dealt with. So I can never tell you what that piece is. I can give you practices to help you connect to yourself so that those pieces can come up. But I can't tell you what that is. That's your experience. And back to this idea that I'm the expert, I know a lot of things. I have a lot of experience and a lot of practice under my belt, but and I know a lot about neurology. I know a lot about your physical body. I know a lot about health, nutrition, herbs. I know a lot of things. I also don't know a lot of things. And the more I know, the more I understand that I don't know, because it's just all so complex and amazing. But you're the expert on you. You are the only person who lives in your body, who lives in your experience. So I can tell you about bodies in general, but I can't tell you about your lived experience because it's unique. It's unique to you. So I can tell you, how neurology happens, how we shape, how we learn our movement patterns, how we mirror patterns from our parents. I can tell you all about that stuff, but I can't tell you how you experience that. So that's the most important piece, is what you experience. And interestingly, some studies on pain relief practices have shown that when people are focused and attentive to the exercise, when their attention is on what they're doing, that pain relief is, it occurs at a much higher rate. They get a much higher success rate in pain relief. When a person's attention is distracted and not present on their body, and they're not in their lived experience, in their embodied experience, pain relief doesn't come through as well. They don't get as high of a result, as high as success rate. So attention and understanding your own internal experience is crucial. I mean, this is backed up by research at this point. Like, it's clearly observable when you practice with people that the people who are present and attentive get better results. I can anecdotally 100% tell you that is true. But it's really cool that now we actually have some solid research that backs that up as well. So basically, what I want to summarize here is that I think guides and mentors are important, but they're not as important as a connection to your own internal experience. I love data and metrics, love it. I have an analytical mind, And I think we need to check that. We need to self-reference. So we need to look at our sleep graphs and our step counts and our heart rate patterns, and also check that against what we are experiencing internally. And I think we need to connect more to our own internal desires and our own internal sense of self. That's the missing piece. I'm not saying throw the rest of it away, but I'm saying the rest of it doesn't function unless we are internally connected. All right, I hope this has been helpful. I really enjoy sharing these insights with you. If you've liked this video, subscribe. And my feelings would definitely not be hurt if you would share this with a friend or two who you think would enjoy it, appreciate it, or someone who you feel needs to hear it. Thanks so much for watching.